Anesthesia is in the perfect spot to own the central role in providing a positive surgical experience for the patient. One, because we do a little bit of everything. We have to be on top of the vital signs of the patient. We have to manage the airway. We have to understand the drugs and the pharmacology of those drugs very well. We are aware of every heartbeat, blood pressure, every breath that that patient takes. And so we definitely have to be the ones that are in charge.
We basically are intensivists in the operating room. We keep people alive, and being able to balance that out, that a patient is able to endure a surgical procedure that is well needed without having the pain or the recollection of it it's an art.
Hi, my name is Clark Schmutz. I've been a CRNA here with NAPA for the last almost 10 years. We're kind of moving into the period of life where a lot of people need surgeries, and we have to remember that anesthesia is very normal to us. We do it every day. It's very routine. But for that patient, it might be the scariest day of their lives. They are completely giving themselves to us. They're going to sleep. They're putting themselves in an incredibly vulnerable position. And so it's important that we remember that we have to explain that to them, to put them at ease, and that we have to give ourselves, all of ourselves, to provide the best anesthesia we possibly can.
When I first meet a patient in pre-op, I will have already reviewed their medical history, got a sense of their surgical history, so I'll hopefully go to them knowing a little bit about them, trying to make sure my understanding of their health history lines up with theirs, and then I try to give them an understanding of my anesthesia plan for them.
Most patients are super nervous, more so about the anesthesia than the surgery. So my goal is to establish rapport with the patient and just extrapolate in as much information that I need to be able to take care of them during the perioperative process.
The role of the anesthesia provider is, number one, keep them safe through the procedure, and number two, keep them comfortable through the procedure. So we have standard monitors that we use on every single patient. There are some patients we feel need additional monitoring, and we go ahead and secure those as well.
And once we get over to the bed, I'm telling them exactly what I'm doing. I'm hooking up monitors to your heart, measuring your blood pressure, your oxygen, telling them step by step that now I'm going to be putting a mask on your face. You're going to be having to breathe some oxygen. As soon as we're ready to go off to sleep, the anesthesiologists come into the room and they help us go off to sleep. The induction phase, which is the going to sleep phase, is very critical. You want to basically take over the patient's vitals. You're in charge of their blood pressure, you're in charge of their heart rate, their rhythm, their oxygenation. So you have to make sure the patient is breathing and receiving the air in their lungs.
I think anesthesia can sometimes be compared to being a pilot. You're taking off, that would be going to sleep, and then you're kind of keeping that patient stable and kind of at baseline during the middle of the surgery, and then when you're waking them up, you're kind of like landing a plane.
When you're in the operating room, you're using your skills in knowing what the vital signs communicate with you. So if you see a patient whose heart rate is usually like in the 60s and it starts to climb up to the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, then for me it triggers a thought that this patient might be feeling what the surgeon is doing, and that means that the pain medicine that I've given them has worn off, and so I need to give them more pain medications.
We are doing this while we're constantly monitoring their hemodynamic stability. Anesthesia can make your blood pressure go up and down. It can affect your oxygenation. We want to keep you as close to your baseline beforehand as possible during the operation.
At the end of the procedure, we're in charge of waking the patient up safely, turning off the anesthesia gases or any type of anesthetics we have going on to ensure a smooth, comfortable wake up and that they're a comfortable patient in PACU. My goal is to make sure that the patient is awake, they're able to communicate with me, and they're able to breathe on their own before I pull that breathing tube out.
The anesthesia team is responsible for the recovery of that patient as well. So I like to make sure that they aren't going to be in unreasonable amount of pain, or that they will eventually wake up and be of a sound mind. Most family members want their family members to be comfortable and back to normal as quickly as possible.
I think most people think that anesthesiologists are not people, that we would prefer that our patients are asleep and that we don't like to talk to them. But I think it takes a really special kind of person to be someone who can build a relationship with the patient in a short amount of time, and yet still be someone who's very thorough, meticulous, a good team player. It takes a lot of attributes to be a successful anesthesia clinician. And so no, I don't prefer my patients to sleep. I love to see them awake and happy at the end of surgery, saying, thank you, I had a great experience, or just letting me know how relieved they are.
One thing I wish people understood or knew about being a CRNA is how much we care, how much time and effort we've put into this. It's hard to get that rapport with somebody in 5 minutes, but if they had seen the hours that we woke up at 4 in the morning to drive to clinical sites and get ready, if they saw all the hard things we went through in the ICU or as a nurse or in our practice for anesthesia, if they saw the work and the care that we put in over those 2 to 3 year programs, I think they would appreciate how much we've sacrificed and given up to be here to take good care of them. I love to be able to use the science of anesthesia, to use my personality to help people feel comfortable and safe, and to use my communication skills to provide a good surgical atmosphere for the whole surgical team. And I've never had a job like this where I was so excited to show up every day and take care of people.